Hey, welcome back to Kino's Summer Series. I'm the Kino Cowboy. I'm here with Scott in epic gamer mode, but
My my Yeti mic isn't working. I'm
that's
sorry.
okay.
It fits for this because this is an epic gamer movie because it predicted the Microsoft Connect. If you watch it, dude, he uses Microsoft Connect to do the pre to scrub through video. I don't know why that's better than using a mouse,
Yeah,
but they do all these things and like they do it in Iron Man 2 where he's like using his hand gestures. I'm like, how is it
it's
better
so
than working in a
funny.
computer? Like, is it any better really than just using like Blender or something? I don't know. We're talking Minority Report.
We're talking the great American filmmaker Steven Spielberg, who was very formative to me growing up. I grew up on his movies. I adore the man. I have not seen all of his filmography. I'm working my way through it still, and this is a blind spot from the early 2000s because I just was too young to see it in theaters. And now here we are. And, I could name a dozen other directors I adore and that are very important to me, but this guy still stands probably at the top as just the most formative and influential to me. And
Yeah.
let that be,
In case you're watching this and you don't know who Steven Spielberg is, we just want to let you know.
well, you
Kind of a big deal.
shouldn't be watching this, but we've done 2 years ago, half of our summer series was doing all of the Indiana Jones movies. So we have that. We've done AI and we've done uh
Fablemans.
yeah. And so we've done a few of his movies on here for sure.
And AI is kind of a sister. If you want to watch that after this, AI is almost
Yeah.
like a sister movie to this.
And as much as I love the man, not all of his movies are masterpieces. And that's why we're talking about Minority Report.
Right. Because it's not a masterpiece. I think it's a weaker one of his. I'm more critical on a second viewing than I was because it's not my first time.
Okay.
I'm more critical on a second viewing than I am on a first viewing, was on the first viewing. I think I was sort of like pleasantly surprised first viewing. It's also just, I don't know, the headspace I was in.
There was stuff
Um,
I enjoyed. There's also stuff I thought didn't work for me completely.
no, for sure. But here's the thing I always say a weak Spielberg movie is still a pretty good movie. Like,
Sure.
it's still good. There's still parts of this movie I really like, and
Yeah.
other parts I'm more critical of or
Scott
that
and
I
I
think
love
are better.
sci-fi. It doesn't matter what it is. We like to talk the world building. We like to talk just everything around it. So,
Right. And I mean, I like, and I've read Philip K. Dick. I've read the novella that this is based on, which I'll talk a little about. And I've read a bunch of his short stories and one of his novels, the one that Linklater did a adaptation of that I haven't seen, Through Scanner Darkly. Oh
I,
no, and I've read Do
I
Androids
couldn't
Dream
get through
of
that movie.
Electric Sleep. Um, and Blade Runner is your favorite movie, right? Or one
Yeah,
of
it's a top five for
top
sure.
five. Yeah. So we're fans of Dick.
Yeah.
And yeah, shoot me. But we're talking that. So, and I did want to talk. I don't know why I wanted to talk about this movie. I guess because you hadn't seen it, and we were talking about summer films, and also we've been on a Tom Cruise kick since Mission Impossible came out, and we converted to Scientology. So
Yeah.
here we are. So yeah, that was kind of, I was wondering what your reaction would be. So it sounds like lukewarm or tepid, maybe, this
There's some,
apologies.
yeah, I certainly an interesting concept. Future crime, stopping, we work in pre-crime and I don't know, but I like that aspect. My only frame of reference for this was anyone that was parroting, moving their hands around and like looking, scanning through stuff. And then there's also a Futurama episode that parodies uh this movie. But yeah, I just wanted to see, I gotta see Spielberg sci-fi, I gotta see it. But,
Yeah, I think that's another interesting. Oh,
uh
there's a sci-fi one you haven't seen?
I think to me, a lot of this movie is shockingly ugly looking.
I agree, and it stood out on a second viewing. And here's why. It's a very 2000s looking movie for all that's
Yeah,
good and
as
bad
much
about
as
it.
it gets.
It's 2002 AF. And I think a lot of it he used this very intentionally kind of like washed out lighting, things are very like grainy and gray in a lot of places. And the attempt was to give it an almost film noir look. And I do not think it works. Because here's the thing, it doesn't work because I never would have thought that unless I read that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I never would have thought. And part of it is noir literally translates as dark, as anybody, you probably know that if you're watching this. And so the idea is like you need contrast. And there's not always a ton of, I mean, there's parts of this movie, where he's like running through the slums to get drugs and stuff. But like there's not a lot of contrast, there's not light and shadow. It's things are kind of uniformly lit. And I understand the idea of this like almost like blander, more futuristic, like less humanistic society. That there are some interesting things, and like they don't dig too deep into it, but there's like definite wealth disparities in the society, and there's definite haves and have nots under this new system that
Yeah.
they don't delve too deep into, but it's there, you know. Um, but I do think like visually, yeah, like this movie does not entirely hit the mark
There's
as
so
well
much
as
bloom lighting in areas that it's ridiculous. I'm like,
there's a lot.
what are we doing here? And it's almost it's almost like you're trying to make it look digital when it's a film. I'm almost certainly he shot it on film, I assume.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he did,
2002.
but it does have that early digital look
And
despite that.
it's almost like he's trying to go for a different look, a different tone. Here's the problem. I can't believe I'm saying this, but John Williams was not the right choice for this movie.
I don't think he was either. I was thinking this movie and I'm like, you know, I cannot hum or whistle a single tune after watching this movie, and that's kind of insane.
It doesn't match the vibe or look of the film, and I noticed that I didn't even pay attention to the score really until where he's fighting Colin Farrell in this factory, and suddenly the score picks up, and it sounds exactly like when Indiana Jones is getting chased. And it's almost like beat for beat sounds like an Indiana Jones moment of a chase sequence. And I was like, this does not fit this at all. What is this? This
No,
is like,
because it's John Williams always has that sort of whimsy, even in
yeah,
like action scenes. Indiana Jones and Star Wars, those are escapist.
yeah,
It's but this is I wouldn't say this is escapist. I would say this is the speculative aspect of science fiction, not the escapist aspect.
yeah,
So the idea that we're in this autonomous factory, he's being chased because he's been like set up or whatever, like it should feel more dire, less whimsy.
yeah. And also that sequence, like, I didn't need that level of action, I don't think, in this movie. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt like weird. And also that factory sequence was shockingly close to the Attack of the Clones factory
I
sequence,
thought the same thing, which
which came
also
out the
came out in
same year.
2002.
He even like has the part where the machine's coming down and it gets his arm stuck in it and everything. I'm like, wait, what the hell is going on here?
Was he and Lucas talking? Because they were talking.
Yeah,
They talked.
yeah,
It's one of those things, but also to give him the benefit of the doubt, because dude, Spielberg, I'd let him, stab me. But it's if you're a guy in a factory and you have those environmental hazards, like how many things you could have something falling down, clamping you, you could have something buzz sawing you, you could have lasers and heat. Like there's only so many things you can do. I'll give him that, but it is rewatching it. I was like, dude, I expect like a little crappy CG toy 3PO to like start flying through behind him. Be like, oh hey,
yeah. It was shocking. Also, it was just like the rest of the movie is not this crazy with its action and stuff. I felt like it could have been. I would have appreciated it to be a little more grounded with its kind of drama that it was going for. I didn't need all this insane fight sequence and all this stuff. I didn't need that in this
no,
movie.
they didn't need that. I like it when he's because it sort of shows off. the world that they live in, it's
I
world
get that.
building. Well, I mean, I'm not saying this scene. I mean, it does that too. But like when he's jumping from car to car on the like vertical
Yeah,
highway, he didn't
that's
do it for you.
that's the part that looks the worst to me,
It's probably aged the
visual
worst
effects
visually. Yeah,
wise. It does
VFX
not
wise.
hold up. Also, the highway system looks fucking stupid.
Oh no, it looks full on like cheap paperback, like 1960s sci-fi
Yeah,
art.
and like the
But I kind of
visuals,
like that. I kind of like it has like some, pulpy because Philip K. Dick was of that era. He was
I think
elevated
it's too much of
above
a
that era.
mishmash of trying to be that and super futurist like contemporary. I don't know.
Right.
And but it's like visually, it's so muddy looking. It almost was giving me flashbacks to like that style in what's that? Sky Captain in the World of
Oh
Tomorrow.
yeah,
It's like
which
to me it was shocking for Spielberg's movie to look that muddy and gross to me. But, not every sequence looks like that, but to me that was rough.
no, it was. It feels like a movie from 2002, and you would be forgiven for being shocked at who it is, because on that chase sequence, and we do talk about like the tonal dissonance between like, and that's some of it is because some of the technologies are outlandish and like campy and sci-fi. Like there's one point that I forgot about where like the vines come alive and try to attack them. That seems like out of Harry Potter or something.
Yeah.
Um, but then we have other things that like in ways are very prescient, because he got a bunch of like futurists and professors and stuff at like he threw his own conference in a hotel to be like, I want to know like what's gonna happen in 2054. Like what is the actual predictions from you guys? And some of that stuff, gesture-based interfaces. We already joked about the Connect. That has come true. Like I joked about that because I remember when the Connect came out, people were like, it's like Minority Report. I was reading all these journalists talk about it. And then um we straight up like the personalized advertising, that's here. Like that's happened. Like that's already here. It's not speakers talking to you, scanning your iris as you walk into the gap. We'll get into the product placement in a minute. But it's like we're already to the point where like algorithms like know you and know your emotional state and know what you're like likely to buy and like what you want. So like that's already here.
No, the
Um
scariest aspect of this movie was watching it everywhere, scanning your eyes and giving you personalized ads everywhere you go. Like that was fucked up to me.
no, and that's the weird part where it's like there's like in many ways this is like a clean society, but like it's dystopian. And and I think it goes against, so I think there's a debate to be had about the sort of like pop philosophy of this is like if you stop somebody who hasn't committed a crime yet, is it true or not? Um when Whitwer and John, played by Colin Farrell and Tom Cruise, are having that debate at the beginning of the movie, setting it all up in the temple with the precogs. But um, in a weird way, it's almost to the movie's detriment that it seems to take such a hard stance against pre-crime. I'm fine that it does, but it's like I almost wish Spielberg could have committed more fully to the morally gray aspect of it.
Hmm.
Um, versus and it's more complicated in how it works um in the novella, or
Okay.
novelette, whatever you call it. Because it's not like the founder of pre-crime manipulating it. It's not an outside force. It's a flaw within the system itself, which is kind of more interesting versus just like, well, humans going to be humans.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I'm waiting for them to reveal that some sort of flaw in this system. Otherwise, why would you not want this system? Because if there's not, then it'd be like, hell yeah, we're gonna prevent murder. But when that lady in her garden or whatever says, yeah, there's a little bit of a chance that it could just be not accurate. It's like,
A
yeah, well,
minority report. But
yeah,
then it gets in that aspect is like, let's say you could stop murder. Like, let's say every year you jailed two people incorrectly, but that stopped all murder. Like, would that be worth it if you could stop hundreds of murders or thousands of murders a year by
yeah,
putting
that's
a
the thing, isn't it?
by putting a couple of innocent people away. Because that's part of my, we don't have to get in this debate. Part of my problem with the death penalty, it's not the idea of like killing criminals that's, like murderers, that's like objectionable to me. It's the idea of killing an innocent person that you wrongly convicted, which has happened. We know it's happened. So, but then we get to that point. It's like, well, if you could just lock them in their little like VR jail, which is another aspect
That
of the
was
game.
like fucked up to me. Like you're gonna contain these killers in this gross ass way, almost like they're in their own personal matrix or something. That's
But
fucked up.
is that more or less humane? You know?
No, I don't know. Also, I think the death penalty is stupid. Like you should have to sit and rot away for your crimes, not just get released from them via death.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the other argument. It's the easy way out.
Yeah.
And also we're not gonna. I mean, again, I don't want to have this debate, but also it's just such a convoluted system anyway, and it like
Yeah.
takes forever. You're on death row for like 20 years,
I
dude.
definitely disagree with the way they're containing these people in this movie. Like that is fucked to me.
Yeah, because they're doing now. Remind me, are they making them like relive their crimes, or are they just giving them like their own personal
I
matrix and
don't
like
really know. I didn't really get a full grasp on that. It went by really fast.
well, it's one of those things like if the point is rehabilitation and that's good at rehabilitating them, like would that work? And it's sort of this idea: are we having this sort of like these metaphysical, like ethical ideals, or are we having like purely consequentialist ethics where we're just completely pragmatic and like, well, if some innocent people get taken away, but it stops murder, who cares? You know, what do you have a moral imperative, or are you just worried about results? Um, which is I mean that's the whole point, and that's something that's talked about in the justice system, when it comes to like, well, should we punish criminals or should we rehabilitate them, that sort of thing. Because I know there's like ideas in sci-fi where it's like, what if you could like manipulate somebody's perception of time so they could serve a 10-year sentence in like an hour, by like manipulating the brain? Would that be more or less ethical? you know
Yeah.
I mean, so they could like go back to their lives rehabilitated worse. But then I know we're just speculating on future technologies, but that's, we're talking about a Philip K. Dick movie. But it's that thing like, well, and then these people get out of it, like, would they know that the experience, whatever rehabilitative experience they had in their like mind prisons, was fake and that would like undercut it? Or would it be real enough where like that would be effective enough and also maybe cheaper for the state because you could just like pump nutrient sludge into them, instead of having to actually like hire a bunch of guards and stuff? You could just have Tim Blake Nelson in a wheelchair playing the organ.
Yeah.
Seems like a cushy job. Seems pretty chill, except when people are breaking in.
The one
um,
time, yeah.
the one time, um, I'll bring it up now. It does seem like he's able to break into that place pretty easy. It seems like the temple seems like it should be this like hyper max like Pentagon security, but it's almost like he swipes a key card on like the utility door on the outside and just like comes
Yeah,
in.
you tell me this. After he's being hunted by the fucking police and feds, why are his eye scans still allowed to open doors in this place?
I thought that too.
That seems
It's
like a
like,
dumb, obvious thing.
dude, I quit a job and yeah, they took my email login away. Like that's what happens. Is HR that slow and bad in the future? No, dude, is like, what
I
is
thought
it?
that was a surprising blunder for a Spielberg movie. Like,
I do too. It's like there could have been some, and we already have established that like you can manipulate eyes or like take somebody else's eye. I know he keeps them in a bag, and that's like an interesting visual to like
yeah,
do that. But it's like, why would that work? I'm
yeah.
sure and I hate this because
Not
that's
even just
another
once, twice.
right, and I hate this because that's um another thing that's predicted is like biometrics at jobs being. I've had to like give my fingerprint to jobs, which I know they're not doing anything with it, but it still makes me feel icky. But like, I'm sure if I went to that old job now, well, I'm hoping they delete my fingerprint from the
Yeah, of
database, and I'm sure they do. But like, I couldn't just like clock in to the workstation
course
using
not.
my fingerprint now. I'm out of the system. No, that is actually, people complain about plot holes that I'm able to hand wave or I just don't care about or that aren't
Yeah,
actually plot holes. That's
yeah,
one that's like takes me out of the movie and
yeah.
breaks believability.
Me
I'll
too.
still enjoy the movie for what it's worth, but
Sure.
like I'm kind of like, what's going on here, dude?
Another aspect, I was actually glad that the characters themselves address the sort of divine intervention commentary head on. And they're like pointing out like we're more like clerics, this is like a temple. I'm glad it wasn't like trying to be more than it needed to be in that area. Because
What that they were going really heavy into like God has preordained all of that. Like, what do you
yeah,
mean?
we're clerics, this is a temple, we're God's chosen and all that.
Oh, well, yeah, you don't want it to be Warhammer where they're like tech priests burning incense to like make the machines work. um,
So obviously we get it set up that what's Tom Cruise's name in this movie?
John Anderton,
Okay, we get
John
you know,
protagonist. Go.
it's set up obviously that John's something happened to his kid, likely died. We get the flashback holograms that he's obsessed with. He's living in that past, obviously. And at first I was wondering if his wife was like killed too or something, but then obviously we learn that she's just left him because he's stuck. But to kind of like I don't know how exactly does this drug work that he takes?
I think what it does, because the one of the big reveals, and this is not part of the original story. The original story is just like, they're mutants. I don't know if there's a reason. Um, but is that the early versions of that drug, the mothers who took it basically instead of having like crack babies, they had like psychic precog babies.
Oh shit.
Um, yeah, no, that's what the lady who gives the like really bad exposition in the greenhouse that we'll get to
Yeah.
talks about. But the that yeah, so apparently it does something to like your brain. I mean, obviously it's a drug, but like I think it like affects your perception of time and like memory, you know? And so I think like using that and then also watching these like 3D projected videos is like the closest he can get to actually reliving his memory. So he takes
Yeah.
a drug that almost like sends him back into his own
Yeah.
memory
Which
so he
is
can
fucked up.
dark. That's one of the more fucked up
Yeah, it
aspects
is.
of this movie. To me, that's might be the most fucked up. Is like,
Yeah.
and apparently this is a common street drug. Maybe there's other sort of like aspects to it, you know? Um, like I don't know, maybe it just gets you high. Uh, but also there's that aspect, you know. This is a side
Yeah.
note, but I always hate it in movies where they're trying to show somebody's like down on their luck and out. And he's like eating cereal straight from the box. I do like the aspect that it starts playing a jingle and he throws it and it breaks because advertising's everywhere. But it's like they always have like some guy like down on his luck detective and he's drinking a lot and eating like shit, but then he's like ripped and has a six pack. I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
how this works. I don't know. That's just something that takes me out of the movie sometimes too. It's
Yeah.
a trope. I get it, you know, like
Yeah, but
Hopper, Stranger Things, he's a detective, but he has a beer gut, you know, and it's like,
I
yeah,
like a little schlubbiness in those kinds of characters. That's yeah.
but not in Tom Cruise. Well, he has
Yeah,
to
you
do too many
can't. It's
stunts.
impossible.
And in the movie or in the book, it's like he's more of like what you would expect. You know, he's more schlubby. He's like a pencil pusher, you know, he's
Yeah.
not always out. What's one of those things my dad joked about it. The my dad, who's a journalist, joked about in the Swedish version of the girl with the dragon tattoo is more realistic because that actor looks way more like a middle-aged journalist than Daniel Craig does. Like coming straight off a Bond. He's like, yeah, it's a desk job. Like, no, people they aren't that good looking. Like
Yeah.
they aren't that in shape most of the time.
Good news for your dad too, journalist. They still have newspapers in 2054.
You know, it's one of those things that, yeah, well, it's wishful thinking. I've always thought the idea of cyberpunk, like they always have like electronic paper, like in Shadowrun. I
Yeah.
remember in the source book of like the tabletop game, you can buy like electronic paper. I'm like, how is this more efficient than a tablet?
Can you imagine how
That
much
you,
it would cost to make your cereal box be able to be animated like that?
yeah, it's like I know there's like economies of scale, but it's like what sort of like first, how many resources are we using? Like, because it's a finite. Like, I know silicon is like one of the most common resources. We're not gonna. We would really have to like. go overboard. I think about that with a lot of cyberpunk stuff where there's like a chip in everything. I'm like, dude, like if one there's like 90% of the world's chips or whatever is from that one factory in Taiwan, and it's so important, such a bottleneck that China's thinking of invading them to get access to. It's a huge political issue. Where are we just throwing chips around willy nilly with they're in cereal boxes? I'm really off script on this episode talking about this, but
Oh,
like
this is all part of it.
it's one of those things in like even when I play like Cyberpunk 2077 and there's like everything cybernet, I'm like, dude, like where's this coming from? Because you say the world's in like ecological ruin. I guess this is why, but also like, is recycling technology better? Because I know I've seen documentaries of like kids in Bangladesh like inhaling noxious fumes while they're like not soldering, but like melting down the parts off of circuit boards to recircle it for like 2 pennies. Like I don't know, man. Future's weird, and the future's now.
Yeah, future
What is
is
that
now.
William Gibson, the granddaddy of cyberpunk, who wrote the novel Neuromancer,
Yeah.
which is also like it's weird, it's essential sci-fi, but also like not that well written in a weird way. But parts of it I like. But he said the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. Dun dun. I don't know. Makes me think of that.
There's also an aspect of I didn't know what level Colin Farrell's character would be at, like with yeah, I know he'd want to interfere with what Cruz is trying to do, or try and stop him and all that because
Yeah,
he thinks he's guilty. I didn't know what level of villain he might be, but I also feel like just uh, just because it was Max von Sydow, however you say it, I was like, yeah, there's more to this guy than you would think.
that's a problem with
Just because of the
casting.
casting.
It's if you know, which I would argue that most audiences who saw this in 2002 in the summer in the theater, like just general audience, wouldn't be like, dudes from Seventh Seal must be important. Like most people wouldn't think that because, but because we're us,
Yeah.
we see it's Max von Sydow. We're like, this is like one of the best actors of all time. Clearly, he has a bigger part in this story
Yeah.
than it is. He happens to be
An old
like
mentor.
an old mentor, like
Yeah.
it yeah, it'd be like if Daniel Day-Lewis showed up to be a waiter in a movie. You'd be like, okay, clearly there's something going on here.
No,
Like
that would
he's
be
not
so
just gonna
baller
give him
though.
the
If you
suit to
like
leave.
pulled Daniel Day-Lewis just to do a bit part and then never like that was it. That would be awesome to me.
I think it would be really funny. Like I always have these like dream casting for like stupid movie ideas. It's like to take like what if Tom Cruise was just like a taxi driver with one line for a scene just to like fuck with the audience or
Yeah.
something. You do get inspired casting like that. Like, so for the next minute or so, I'm going to talk about Barbarian, the movie Barbarian. If you have not seen that, skip forward like a minute or two, spoilers, you have been warned. But in Barbarian, casting, what's his name? Pennywise to like do the bait and switch. You think he's a villain, there's
Yeah.
not. You have this is like the opposite of that, where it's like pointing out instead of like bait and switch with the casting, which I always appreciate when they're able to do that. It's pointing out like, no, this I know this guy's not. You're not going to pay Max von Sydow his salary, whatever it is. I know he's not like The Rock. That would be hilarious to get The Rock and pay him like 20 million to be a cab driver, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, I don't know. That was my point.
Yeah, no, That's just funny. You said skip forward a minute or two. You only had like one thing to say about
Yeah, you're right.
Barbarian.
I only had like 30 seconds. I don't know. We're fine. I don't
No,
know.
this is funny. No, but that was a great casting in that movie. Yeah, underrated. I hope his new movie Weapons is good.
It
I'm
looks
trying
good.
I'm trying
It
to
looks cool.
avoid stuff on it though.
Yeah, well, nobody knows what it's really about, so that's part
Yeah.
of what's cool about it.
I will say like normally Spielberg like he has very thrilling chase sequences. I'll say he tried to swing with this jetpack sequence, but it comes off rather clunky in
It's
parts.
goofy. It's goofy,
Doesn't
which
fully
is
work.
and it doesn't work because part of it is like all of the design of the jetpacks and even like their goofy helmets. It's at clash like where we've brought that up. There is a like tonal dissonance between like the darker Philip K. Dick elements and then Spielbergian cinema.
Yeah.
And like I need to rewatch it. It kind of works in AI, even though it's like
No,
Kubrick and
dude,
Spielberg.
every aspect of what he was going for with AI works better.
Yeah.
And like even like he has that airy, ethereal lighting in AI. It
Hmm.
looks better and it works way better in AI.
Yeah.
Here it's like almost like a shitty video game cutscene or something.
Ooh, harsh. But kind of accurate. But no, it's and part of it's like you have all these technologies like another one, autonomous cars. That's here. That's straight up here. You can get a
Yeah.
you can get autonomous Ubers, which is
Yeah, they
crazy.
just started a new line of like of peopless or self-driving taxis. I think in like somewhere in California, like it just
Right.
dropped this week. I read about it or
Which has
something.
always been the MO for Uber. It's like we're gonna get our infrastructure, we're gonna take over the cab industry, and then we're gonna like automate everything. But it's like you have all these like more realistic, more believable, more down to earth technologies, and then jetpacks.
Yeah.
It just takes you out because it's such a sci-fi thing. Technically exists, but it's like impractical. It like doesn't work. It's dangerous. The fuel system, and like it's fun when they're like breaking through walls, but also it's goofy. Also, it's kind of like I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's bones would be broken like if you did that. There's a goofy fun to it, but it's again, it's at a tonal clash with the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Also, like back to that side note, is it because with self-driving taxis, you still have to pay people to be on the phones and like and be monitoring everything and making sure these things aren't messing up. Is that what's the level of just paying a person a living wage versus all
Well,
this?
if it's a living wage in the Philippines, which I'll bring up the Philippines again for 2 episodes in a row, um, it's $1, so a day, pretty
Well, I
much.
don't know if that's how like who is I don't know
Well,
Waymo or
we get AI chat support agents to do
oh
tech
great
support
yeah
for the AI cars.
because I saw a video where like the Waymo didn't know what to do and that so like a cop or someone was trying to direct the car to tell him to come this way because it was like a very specific thing with construction or whatever and the people that were in the Waymo were like we can't do anything, this is a self-driving car, but like whoever it was not even realizing there was no one in the front seat and it was like this big. I was like fuck this, I don't want to deal with this.
Well, that's it's terrible because like in other movies, like I remember in oh man, you talk about an early 2000s movie that's some schlocky sci-fi, I Robot,
Oh yeah.
bastardization of Asimov. Asimov would hate that movie,
Yeah.
but I enjoyed it when I was younger. That movie has more egregious product placement than this even because it has like he takes out a Converse. He's like best sneaker of 2005 or whatever he says. But
God.
oh, there's a Converse product placement in Summer Hours. Those movies have that in common. But um the whole thing, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, he's like, I'm going into manual mode, even at these speeds. So you have an option, but if it's somebody else's cab, they don't want like the passenger to just like grab it. It's fucked. It's fucked. Everything's fucked. Everything's fucked. We're going to war with Iran. Everything's fucked. Oh, sea levels are rising. We're out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Big beautiful bill. Big beautiful
Okay,
women.
great. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's bring it all up. Let's do it.
Yeah, that was an aspect of AI I liked was just like just the visuals of that all of New York being underwater basically and it's just like so many areas just destroyed and but yeah.
Yeah, I like
Here
seeing
I'm
those
like,
liberals get what they deserve.
well, what is going on with this like lady being able to make like killer vines and shit like it's Harry Potter or something?
That's another thing that's like I understand her doing like genetic experiments. That makes sense.
Yeah,
But it
but
but it's so goofy. It's like in Hook when there's like a plant that like sneezes on Robin Williams because it's like a Neverland magical plant. It's like that. It's like the plants of
yeah, it's a
Neverland.
weird clash. Like how why is I don't yeah, and it's like people were worried about him with taking on Kubrick's material, in AI, but it happened to be such a great mesh of the two, and it's so weird that it's the exact opposite here of like weird, goofy shit.
I think part of it is I mean, I'm sure he respected Philip K. Dick, but like he had such respect and like admiration for, Kubrick, um, as a peer and as a mentor. Like he was like, I have to like double, like really make sure I'm meshing with his vision. While here, I'm gonna assume he had more freedom to kind of like, or felt more freedom to like do his own thing. And it
Yeah,
could be any number of things, dude. It could be production designer. It could be the cinematographer. He's like, I kind of want to make it look film noir-y. Although at the same time, the buck stops with Spielberg because he's goddamn Steven Spielberg. He's not a gun for hire by the studio. He's the
yeah,
man. He's the guy. Like, I take somebody off the street, name a director, like he's gonna come up maybe
yeah.
more than anyone else, you know. And at the time this came out, he certainly would have.
Another question I had was, is there not an easier way to trick the eye scanners than removing your eyes completely and replacing them?
No, but it's more dramatic than contact lenses.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
I do like that weird, grimy place he has to go to get them removed and
But it's
stuff.
also real over the top. Of he
Yeah, it
just
is.
has like, first of all, that actor whose name I always forget. Um, he's in a bunch of stuff, but I mainly remember from Tim and Eric when he's like, "My name is Gordon." And, like, there's a
Oh
Tim and Eric,
yeah.
so I just kept thinking of Tim and Eric the whole time.
Yeah.
But um, what is his name? He was just in that Until Dawn movie that made no money. Peter Stormare, Storm. Yeah, he's like Swedish or Finnish or I don't know, some Scandinavian. Yeah, Swedish. Anyway, oh yeah, he's in Fargo. That's probably the biggest thing he's in. But he's like so over the top and he's like snotty and stuff. And my mom, uh, she talks about like that's like the most grossed out I've been in a theater is when he drinks that spoiled milk. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
that's fucked.
is I'm like
Why
also,
is that in there?
but yeah, it's like, do you not clean your fridge ever? You're just like this weird street doctor, you know? And he does have the Clockwork Orange kind of homage with like keeping his
Yeah.
eyes open. Like we just need that plot point, that action beat, but also like the idea that there's not like we have underground. We'll get to this like memory upload things where you can like kill your boss, but we don't have contact lenses that can trick things. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, those little like mouse robots that crawl around everywhere. That's another really shitty aspect of that future of like no privacy and the way they execute it where like you have no right to turn them away from your home. They just crawl into your house and like scan you and then you go back to what you're doing like it's no big deal. I thought
Yeah,
that
there's not really much of a warrant
there's even
situation
a
here.
couple like having sex and they stop having sex and get scanned and then go back to it.
Yeah, and
And
she has to like
everyone's just compliant and okay with that.
I don't know.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're pretty much there with surveillance. And I remember when Stone Revelations dropped, I was trying to talk to people about it, like high school or college or whatever, and they were just like, "Oh, what are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but I'm not happy." But I will say that sequence, the fact that they like had like a crane shot and they built out like all the apartments,
Yeah.
and so you could like see, I don't know. It's a nice visual. It's very kinetic. It gives you a good visual sense of like where they are and like just the space that they're in.
Yeah, it worked.
Um, and it works. It works well.
It looked good, yeah.
And that's one of those where like the kind of goofy CG robots does work with like the messed up, especially like the design is so like you're afraid they would just like stab your eye out and stuff. Um, that is one of the more effective parts of that chase.
And some I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention close enough, but like so those three what are they called? Oracles or
Precogs.
yeah,
Precogs.
precogs. Are those the only people like that in this universe?
I think so, which also makes me question how could they do the entire United States with only three precogs, unless they start giving those drugs to moms and like mass producing them or like
Yeah.
cloning them or some stuff. That's another minor plot hole that I was got, or just like a practical like, are they just going to be constantly shitting out those balls? Like, oh god, there's so many murders. Because you have to cover
Yeah, and
Detroit and
like did
stuff.
they agree to be like I mean they're in there. Maybe they
No,
didn't.
that's part of the Well, that's part of the whole plot is that it's was sort of a clandestine operation to get this started because and there's a lot of propaganda. You see that with the field trip when he's like they have great lives, they have their own personal gym and stuff, and like and then for whatever reason he's like next to the field trip and doing that like facial muscle thing. It's like you're doing that here now, and
Yeah.
the doctor said it'll be like the most painful experience of your life, and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of kids on a field trip. you know um it's like, well, we have to deliver this exposition somehow. But so there's that. But the whole point of why Max von Sydow um ended up murdering that woman, she was a mom of one of the precogs who was like, I want my baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. And he was like, I have to like kill this woman or my entire life's work will be undone. So that's
Yeah.
why the whole conspiracy pops up. So it was, yeah, it was, they were basically like kidnapped or like, it's kind of like in Halo where they take the kids and they like replace them with clones that deteriorate. I don't know if they do that part. I just wanted to make a Halo reference.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my gamer headset.
I really like the aspect. Well, I kind of knew it was coming with like Tom Cruise seeing his own like him murdering somebody. And it's like, okay, that's a great hook of I have to stop my own murder, but how's that going to happen? And I do like the reveal of the setup with like, because yeah, it's a great fake out because I'm like, why are all these pictures placed perfectly on this bed? This seems like this is a bad. Like, why would they do this? Oh yeah, of course, because that's part of the plot. Yeah, okay. But it almost feels like this. What a paradox it would feel like trying to stop your own self from murder. And so I like the maddening kind of aspect of that. That really works.
And that's from, I'm going to tell you how it goes down the novella.
Yeah.
Is what happens is, so the Minority Report is from not all of the precogs dream the same thing at the same time. And sometimes one of their dreams can influence the others. What happens is John sees the prediction that he'll kill somebody. By seeing the prediction that he'll kill somebody, because he's the guy working there, he decides not to kill somebody.
Yeah.
And that affects the third precog, and that's the Minority Report that says he won't kill
Oh
someone.
shit.
So it's like because he gets that privileged information because he's working the desk, it's like that affects everything. And then it's
Wow.
yeah. And that's a conspiracy. It's also ends up being a conspiracy is like it's implied there's some good world building in that. It's there's like been some like war with China, and so like America's fucked. Um, and it's like the military also gets a copy of all the reports apart from the police because they're in this sort of like quasi martial law. And basically, they want more power to themselves. So they kind of try to set up John Anderton. And so he ends up with that information actually killing the guy he's supposed to because that will let pre crime continue.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway so you don't get control and pre crime continues. Like he does that. There's that. So it's kind of more interesting than just like a rogue agent. It's like that more, it's more intellectual. It's sci fi, it's Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
And then Whitworth does get to take over and he's like, hey, by the way, this could happen to you too. Have fun. And that's how the story is. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's pretty great. Philip K. Dick, dude, Philip K. Dick was fucking crazy. He had a tenuous grasp on reality anyway, and then he's like, I'm gonna experiment a bunch with psychedelics, and then it got even worse. Brilliant, that genius, but crazy, like literally crazy.
There's also like when he takes the precog to that guy he knows, and the guy owns that company that's like neurological VR experiences or whatever.
Yeah,
And of course, most of them are like sexual fantasies. Uh, extreme. You have to be like an elite gooner to spend all your money doing that.
I don't know, depending on how much it costs.
But they're probably in there all the time.
Yeah,
But there's that one guy who's just his fantasy is to want to kill his boss. I'm like, damn, okay. So you can have that fake fantasy, I guess, but it was a very reminiscent of Strange Days from 1995, and I wonder if he'd seen that movie.
I'm sure, and that's a cyberpunk trope.
Yeah,
I already mentioned Cyberpunk 2077. That's the last big cyberpunk thing I probably, and it's in that, which it's, and that's from the tabletop game, which is like back in the 80s, and that
yeah,
is in, there's elements in Neuromancer where like you can, I forget what it's called, but you can basically experience the sensations of someone else, you
yeah,
know, by like connecting to their neural system. So there's a point where it's like the protagonist is like, he has another like cohort out in the field and he's hooked up to her neural system so he can like see and feel what she feels while he's like doing surveillance. He's doing all his guide in the chair hacker stuff while
yeah.
being able to like see and feel exactly what she does, you know? So it is a trope that's like part of it. You have, they're called brain dances in Cyberpunk 2077 and 2020, the old one, before it got past 2020 and they had to rename it. And there's always like an illegal version where it's like, oh, you're killing people, stuff like that. So that is just like a trope of it, but it's really interesting. And I mean, I think it's plausible we could see something similar to that in our lifetime. At least like, even if it's not like a full on, this is indistinguishable from reality, a sort of like simulation that like stimulates your nervous system in a way like it's at least like 50% there, you know? It's like a dream, like a really lucid dream or something, you know? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting that the only thing strong enough to get through to the precogs is murder, like rape and suicide just happen
That's
to
a
not
plot.
be
That's a
enough.
hand wave plot thing.
Yeah.
They're like, it's the only thing that affects the metaphysical. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what is the? I think it's all crime in the novella, but like that was just too broad for this. You know, they just kept it with murder,
Yeah.
and he was really going for like a, again, like a film noir, like murder. You know, killers. You know, he was going for that, which doesn't come across really.
Yeah, because like imagine the precogs seeing like a 14-year-old stealing candy from a like a corner shop or something, and
Yeah,
then
dude, and the
them
police
like flying down,
bust
like
into
busted
his
in.
house and shoot
That'd
him.
be crazy.
Dude, it's like you wouldn't download a car. Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, yeah. Oh shit. I
No more
torrented
life.
this movie for this cast. Boom, they all fly in and behind me. That'd be nuts. But I did find like the final confrontation to be very satisfying, where everyone at that party celebrating him is seeing the murder on screen. That's really like powerful. Like that's
I will
brutal.
say it's a common trope, but I love it when a villain's trying to act innocent and they reveal something they're not supposed to know. When his wife is like, I didn't say she was drowned.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh shit.
Oh.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that moment in movies. I don't care how many times I've seen it. It's
Yeah.
just a personal thing where I love it when the
Sure.
villain slips up like that. It's also very realistic. It's like, I think that's probably something that happens in court all the time. Is like I actually saw, there's a video, it's pretty millions of views on YouTube of like what and why you should never talk to the police. And um you know, the law, there's a lawyer, there's a cop, and then a lawyer comes up, or one of them, and they agree with each other. Even the cop's like, yeah, don't talk to us without a lawyer. Um, but he's one of them. Like, if you're, say you're a suspect for like an assault or murder, you could be like, well, this, and I don't even own a gun. It's like, oh, we didn't say anything about a gun. Now you're definitely a suspect, like that sort of thing. So it's very realistic in that mode.
Yeah.
I'll be
And it's
honest,
also
my,
like
yeah, go ahead.
the way it's like it just so happens this gift for you is this old-fashioned gun. I wonder if that's gonna come into play.
Yeah, an actual Chekhov's gun, the
Yeah,
Civil
actually.
War gun. Yeah, that
Oh, great.
one's,
I'm glad you're being gifted this.
yeah, dude, I don't know. It is one of those like, yeah, you can find a knife or something, you know. I don't know. I guess you can't kill him with a pocket watch. That'd be a lot harder. But um, it's one of those things. I do want to say as we're, I feel like getting toward the end of this, my favorite part of this movie on first view and in this viewing is the monologue from Agatha. You know, there's a part. when they're at like his wife's really nice house. I
Yeah.
wonder what she does for a living. Maybe they had really good life insurance on that kid. I don't know. But the we're and it kind of brings to questions like, well, how many possible futures are there? Is
Yeah.
there this movie leans toward like more than one. Leans more toward free will, which is boring and not true. But she's like describing what their child's life would have been, describing him like going to college and finding his
Yeah.
wife and all that. Like it's so touching and beautiful, and the actress does such a good job and is allowed to calm down because the actress, she does really good with what she's given, but she's like freaking out in every scene, like having to like panic. I'm like, God, that must have been exhausting for this actress,
Yeah.
to have to do that like 10 takes in a row of just like hyperventilating. Um, it is a fun part of the chase sequence when she's like, grab the umbrella, like stand here in front of the balloons,
Yeah, I like
like
that.
that's
Yeah.
probably the best chase. That is the best chase sequence.
That
I'll say
works
that.
really well.
No, that works really well. Um, but
Yeah, I'm glad it
uh,
slowed down there because that was a very beautiful moment.
mhm,
Uh, and it's frustrating closure because there was almost a moment you feel bad for him because like there's almost a moment where he thinks, wait, my son's been alive this whole time because he was tricked.
mhm.
And that's clearly not the case. It was just so it would lure him in to kill that guy. And so it's like at least he gets to feel something, even though it is truly unobtainable to save his son.
Yeah, it's. I mean, no, it's heart wrenching, and then like the immediate and in a very intentional tonal whiplash, which works. Of like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John, you're gonna have to run now, and and that scream is hit so hard. And you see the
Yeah.
VTOL outside. Yeah, no, that whole scene, everything about that is great. I'm
Yeah.
a big sucker for when a movie like a high I that's another true. I love it when like a high octane action movie is like, and now we got to go out to our hideout and like retell and like it's gonna slow down.
Fucking the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. This movie should have been more like Ninja Turtles.
The only part of that is like when he's outside talking with his wife, the sun is so bright because of the bloom. I'm almost having to like look away because
There's
I'm like,
so
what are you
much bloom
doing?
lighting. It's like playing Oblivion on the 360, dude.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. But yeah.
And it's very quick to wrap up after. And it's like that's another tonal thing, and maybe it's intentional. They're like, pre-crime was dissolved. It's like, oh, so there's murder again, I guess, in this
Yeah, what
society.
can you really do? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think people were like sharpening their knives, like meat's back on the menu, boys?
Yeah.
Like happy about it? Um, I like that, and that's the argument it could be. Like this movie's kind of arguing that pre-crime was bad, but like that's a fun part of this movie is you could argue like if it works, man, it works.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I can. We already have like mapping technologies where apparently I have it pulled up over here. It's called the Crush Criminal Reduction Utilizing Statistical History. It's the Memphis Police Department used it. Apparently not enough because Memphis is still, but we in Little Rock joke about how dangerous Memphis is. That tells you how dangerous Memphis is. But I hear gunshots in this neighborhood pretty often. But they have like it's like a predictive thing of like they can predict like where crimes might happen next. Like I can definitely see in our time, and they might already have this, and it's not public knowledge or not my knowledge of like based on your internet history and like your browsing statistics, like how likely you are to commit a crime and where, you know, like we're gonna get to that point where like I'm sure where it's like predictive analytics will be able to be like, you know, the
Yeah.
police should watch this guy more closely in his online habits, and you can get a warrant just for that, or you won't need one because Patriot Act.
Well, they already have it where like you tweet a joke, a fucked up joke, and then the FBI comes to your house to scold you.
Yeah, dude, that's darn to give you a good finger wagging. Hey,
Yeah.
don't kill the president. That's our job.
Patriot Act.
I didn't say I was going to do anything. I just said the FBI killed, Kennedy and Martin Luther King.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
They had to
No,
go
I'm
down.
sorry. I'm sorry. The FBI killed Martin Luther King. The CIA killed Kennedy. Let's
Oh,
get it.
sorry. Yeah, my
Let's get
bad.
it right. Let's credit where
Not trying to
credit.
spread misinformation
No,
on the
no, we
harbor.
try to be accurate on here.
Oh boy. All right, final thoughts on Minority Report.
Good, not great. Fun watch. I was more critical on a second view, but there's aspects of this movie I like.
Sure.
And Tom Cruise.
Yeah. It's interesting to see when such a dialed in director can like kind of flub up a few things. I don't know. It's but then again, like there's plenty of his films I haven't seen that are considered weaker. Like I
1941.
I haven't seen Munich. Yeah, I have not seen 1941. I have not seen Sugarland Express.
Oh, well, that's like an early movie of his. I
Yeah,
don't
but
really
still,
blame him
I
for that.
still want to see it. I've never seen Always. I
What
always
is
forget
that?
about that one.
Well, this was when he was. Here's the thing, though. This is, and I think Spielberg's still great. I think Fablemans was great. Fuck people.
Yeah,
Um,
Fableman. Who's shitting on the Fablemans?
I don't know. I just people aren't interested, and a lot of people say I still haven't seen Lincoln. A lot of people say it's really good, but um, it's the thing where like his this was maybe one of the first cracks in his armor of like Hook was a big one where like he had
Yeah,
come off of
even though I like
like
that movie.
yeah, I do too. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I think it's good. I mean, it's not as, but that's also he was. What year was Hook? Was that before or after Jurassic Park?
I think it was let's see. It was yeah, 91. Jurassic Park with 93.
Okay, so it was before, but he had come off of like ET and stuff, and people were like, "Whoa!" But then he came back
It
with
was just
Schindler's
yeah, he did
List
Hook and
and
then
Jurassic
immediately
Park.
did Jurassic Park and Schindler's List the
So,
next year
so
or
people
two
were like,
years.
"Okay, we'll take it back." But, um, I mean, this was part of his run of like Warhorse. You know, people don't like as much. I think Lincoln wasn't his mass appeal, but like people really liked it. You know, The Post, but like, yeah, I don't
The
know.
Post I didn't care for. I really
Yeah,
did.
straight up, man. I mean, this is also part of like I feel like really part. He had already started with Mission Impossible 1 and 2, but like really, this was a start of stunt work with Tom Cruise transitioning into like a stunt man. Because
Yeah.
I was watching like a featurette behind the scenes on YouTube in preparation for this, and the stunt guy was talking about working with Tom Cruise, and it's so funny. We're seeing this where now he's hanging off planes and stuff, and this is just like, yeah, we had to coordinate for the factory sequence, and now he's doing crazy like stuff no other actor would do. So this is actually like a crucial point in Tom Cruise's acting career
Yeah.
and like his like evolution into an action star, you know, because it went like I mean you had like The Firm, Interview with a Vampire, A Few Good Men, you know, dramas. Then you had Mission Impossible 1, which is still not that stunt heavy compared to the others. Like I mean,
Right.
he's on the train and stuff at the end, which I still think is really fun. But then you had like Jerry Maguire, Eyes Wide Shut, Magnolia. Then you have Mission Impossible 2. I haven't seen Vanilla Sky, but then you have Minority Report. So this was part of him like
Yeah.
really picking up as an action star, you know. Um, so you have all that. This is part of that.
Totally. Which is yeah, part of the why I wanted to watch it because I like seeing that him kind of come into that. And yeah, he brings it. And even in, like the scene, like when we finally get that flashback of him at the pool and suddenly he can't find his son, like that's pretty it's harrowing to me. Like he
No,
pulls it off.
Tom Cruise, like people, he's easy to make fun of and to treat him like now he's almost too much brain at himself as like Ethan Hunt but like he can act, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's a great leading man, and like he can bring genuine pathos when he wants to. He can be Lev Grossman.
He's just bad at eating popcorn.
He's so bad at it. That's the one thing he can't act like a normal human. Is the in real life is the problem. He's
Yeah.
too far gone. He can only be a movie character.
Well, Spielberg just wrapped filming on his new UFO movie, so I'm really looking forward to that. So,
What is
and
that
that's
called?
like who's in that? Yeah,
Close
Emily
Encounters of
Blunt,
the Fourth Kind.
Colin Firth, Wyatt Russell, Josh O'Connor, which I'm glad to see him getting all this work. Sinners, he's the main white guy from Sinners.
The main white guy
Well,
from
you
Sinner.
know,
I know what you mean. The no, good for him. Yeah, dude.
and once you see
Untitled
him in
Steven
28
Spielberg.
years later, you're gonna shit yourself.
I'll probably see that this afternoon, actually.
I'm dying to rewatch that movie.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Next week on Summer Series, we'll be doing Summer Hours from 2008, a French film. Look forward to that. In the meantime, we have plenty more Summer Series to check out if you want to support that or any of our other Harbor episodes or video essays. Plenty more. Share them with your friends if you like them. Anyway, other than that, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.